Welcome to our, what is this, September already? I cannot believe how this year is going by. Here's our September transaction review calculator practice, and I'm super excited today because we've got a couple of members who have their deals that are being showcased, and it's always fun to work with other people's deals instead of just my own. And really appreciative, both Dave and Buddy tonight, that will help us get somewhere with this. Usually I start off with a little fun calculator practice just for fun, just to keep tools sharp. So this is a deal that just super simple stuff. Sometimes I forget that sometimes it's great just to have simple reminders. But a guy emailed me and he said, he's from Texas, and he says, we weren't going to sell our place, but somebody just wrote us an offer, and so we think it's crazy. And I don't know why people are so hot for real estate, but we think we should sell it. But he wants owner carry, but we're going to want to sell. And so this is the deal that it was $768,000 purchase, four bed, 2 bath house, 40 acres with outbuildings. And 768, they wanted to put 100 down, so $100,000 down divided by the purchase price of 768. And this is a trust that owns other properties as well. It's 13%, isn't paltry, but for this kind of asset, I'd really want more, ideally 25%, something or more. But anyway, so that's the deal. So then he says they want to give us a 660, so that leaves 668 for the loan. So that goes into present value or loan amount here. They want 5% interest. That goes into here. And they want it amortized over 25 years. So how many months is that? 25 times 12 equals 300 months. And what would the payment, future value here is 0 because it's fully amortized in this scenario. So they would have a payment just shy of $4,000 a month. How much could we sell this note for? And I said, well, with even out crunching the numbers, I said, that long of a note at 5%, you're looking, not, just ballpark half, 50%. And he goes, ouch. And I said, yeah, it would really be good if you could stick in a balloon. So that's what they did. And so we put 120 in here. That's 10 years. And then we solve for what the balloon will be. So that is a little tighter for them. And my maximum loan to value or investment to value on here would be 65% of the value of, or the sales price. Other people may have different underwriting guidelines. So that means, I wouldn't pay more than $500,000 all in, but then I have to have yield calculations. So even if I just put in 12, the most I can pay for this is $421,808 divided by the loan balance. They're looking to take, basically, maybe I could squeak it up to 65% of the principal balance. So anyway, just a way for you to get used to how to put a note in and think about it and talk about it. All right, so I'm going to click out of this right now, and we have our typical disclaimer. This is just my opinion only. You should always get your own legal and accounting advice, of course. So Buddy is an attorney and real estate investor. He also has just completed and put together a financial calculator class, and we're talking about having his material in his class a part of our members. So I really hope we come together on agreement there, because Buddy is an amazing guy, really solid, salt of the earth. He's been a client and an associate, and we still do some business back and forth on various deals. And I'm really pleased that he showed up today. Buddy, why can't you give yourself introduce yourself just a little bit?
Oh, hey, thank you. Well, thank you very much. It was very kind to say, Don. My name is Buddy Broom. I am here in Los Angeles. I am an attorney and investor. I first started hearing about creative financing stuff from my dad when I was a kid, and he would tell me stories about how he to buy a property and he didn't have any money, and he would just ask the person to take payments, and the people would agree to it. And I would tell my dad, I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. I would remember just like one day we were just in high school, and I said, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Why would anybody do that? Why would anybody do that? And my dad looked at me, like, I don't know. He's like, and they think a little bit more. He's like, I just asked him. And then he goes, and on top of that, he said, he knew me, he knew my family, knew my reputation in the community. He said, he assumed that he'd get paid back, and he did. And so it just taught me about, seller financing, about the importance of, one, asking for what you want, and two, just to being honest, to being
the reputation equity that he had.
Your reputation really, really matters, and the way you treat people, if it's positive or negative, comes around and goes around. And then three, that you can do this business without any, if you don't have a lot of money or any money, you can still do it. But it takes work and skill and understanding of how money works. And and then since then, my wife and I started buying properties about 8 years ago. Our first one was a complete dud. And so, of course, from there, we were fortunate enough to learn. We got introduced by a gentleman named Ellis San Jose, who started a club named Phoebe for investors by investors, and he agreed to mentor us. And since then, he introduced us to then Gary Johnston and Clyde Wilson, who were just absolutely life-changing. And their class Financial Freedom Principles really taught us how to use the financial calculator. And from there, we were able to purchase our first building with we got it $250,000 over market price. So it sounds like a terrible deal, but we were able to get really, really good long-term 50-year fixed interest financing, which made it very good for us and good for the seller as well. I've been very happy with it.
I know that is such an incredible story, because you paid substantially more than fair market value, and you still have something that cash flows. Isn't it like almost $2,000 a month that cash flows for you?
Yeah, cash flows a decent amount a month, so it's really, really, really nice. And not 2,000. It's probably like, I don't know. We got like cash on cash returns about, like, I'd say the first deal was about like $500 a month. We were able to put down 40 down and still make it work, which is amazing. I mean, to get like a building in Los Angeles to do that, it wouldn't have been possible without the help from all those people like Clyde and Gary, just like held our hands through the whole thing, and just
right.
It was really, really helpful. So it was just really great. And then from there, we just purchased another property here, purchased another property there, called Dawn and said, hey, Dawn, we need some help. And it's just been a fun little journey. So it's been great. And then I started teaching this financial calculator class in the past year, which has been really fun as well. So I enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, and people who are listening to this can expect some sort of a broadcast or blast of some sort, one way or another, I would expect in the next little while here. But so this is the first time you decided, well, you were telling me, buddy, that you wanted to say, hey, I'm buying properties, but I really like this note thing. Instead of borrowing money and paying on notes, I want to buy notes and receive the payments. And then you go, why don't I just do these Lonnie deals? So maybe you could just quickly sum up that for people.
Yeah, so what happened was, prices of property right now in Los Angeles are crazy, right. Really, really, really high. And so it's just really difficult to find properties that make sense. And so it sort of shifted my focus a little bit, where I said, hey, I better start, getting the notes and learning more about notes. And then when I started shopping around a little bit, I just realized, I said, hey, like, the yields aren't, for just starting off, to really, really get great yields, it takes a lot of digging. And
right.
And so then I started hearing about, I have a couple friends that do Lonnie deals, Tim King and Andres Brito. And so I started, asking around about that, and I figured, hey, like, why nobody really wants to get into mobile homes. It's just one of those areas that sort of like almost like a phobia amongst real estate investors. We're like, hey, if it's not hard land, we don't want it. And I've had the same feeling before.
Right.
So So we were like, all right, we're going to get in on, and I'm going to go where nobody really wants to go and go in these mobile homes. And so, yeah, so I just closed my first one about less than a week ago. So
Okay.
it was an adventure.
Yeah, perfect. So let's go over these. Thanks for sending over the info and the pictures. I know you're on the phone and that you
Sure.
have to go, so hopefully we can get this done for you. But so his investment strategy. So you purchased it for 2,750.
Correct. Yeah, it was a Craigslist ad, and I went and saw it, and the
They
guy wanted
listed
10.
it for sale, or did you have
They
a?
listed it for sale on Craigslist for
Hmm.
10. They wanted $10,000. It was a gentleman I spoke to. His father-in-law lived there, and he was ill, so it was a 55 and over community. So they took him to a senior center. So he moved out, and the place was in pretty bad shape. It was a 1956 model home,
Yeah, yeah,
which is old, so nobody really wants it, which is good because nobody really wants it. And
yeah.
so, so that was my thought. So he said, "Hey, 10,000." I thought 10,000 is crazy. That's not going to happen. And he had a few other cats. So I said, "Hey, I saw the condition of it. It was pretty terrible, and the park was requiring that the outside be painted." So
Gotcha.
I said, "Okay, why don't you talk to these other people? If they buy from you, if they were going to be end users, I'm like, go for it. Sounds great. If they don't, we'll talk in a couple days."
Yeah.
And so he said, okay. And so then a couple of days happened, and I didn't think that people would buy it, and they didn't. And so he called me back and said, hey, we want to buy it. Give me your best offer. And I said, well, how about before I give you my best offer, what are you guys looking to do? He said, no, just give me your best offer. My wife and I will talk it over. And I said, well, what do you think your wife would take? And he says,
Uh-huh.
I think she'd take 3,500. So I said, okay. That in my mind was still like a little bit too high, but I figured, hey, like now this is getting real. So,
Well, yeah, because
um,
you, without even have to say anything, they dropped it $6,500.
correct, yeah, very fast. And so I was like, okay, they really want to unload it now. Like they're tired of it. They're like, hey, it's a hassle. We're having to drive back and forth and show it to people that aren't doing the deal. So I said, okay, fine. And so then I talked over some people, and I said, would you be able to do 2,000? And they came back and said, no, we'd be able to do 3,000. I said, well, why don't we just split it? We'll do 2,750. So I said, okay. So we split it, 2,750. Then I had to go talk to the park to make sure it was okay with them. And the park had never done a deal like this before. There's always been end users that bought it, but they saw that no end users were buying it.
Uh-huh.
So they said, okay, we'll let you come in, and this will be our test run with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was August 15th. We did the bill sale. I purchased it on August 15th, and then I had people that worked on my rentals, so it was easy to get a crew in there to get in and rehab it. Got the thing rehabbed. Took a couple of days for them to get in there, and then they got in there to rehab it, painted the outside, put in new floor, new bathroom, and in about August 27th or so, around there. Oh, and then I had to get someone to really like deep clean it because it was pretty nasty. It was pretty gross.
Yeah.
And so then, as anybody who works in mobile homes knows, it gets pretty disgusting sometimes.
Yeah.
And they got in, deep cleaned it, and it was good to go. And put it up for sale. I think August 20, 29th or something like that. And that was when the cleaning, everything was up, I put up a Craigslist ad and just blasted on Craigslist, and sold it on someone who was moving in next door, who was friends with the park owner. She had another friend who wanted to move in there, and so she bought it, and we closed on September 2nd.
That
And
was pretty quick.
it was fast, yeah. So it was August 15th to September 2nd. We were all start to finish. Everything was cleaned up finished, wrapped up on September 2nd, and from the right in the DMV. So it was an easy transaction.
Well, that's great. Just
Yeah,
really quickly, you kind of
yeah,
skipped really fast over, oh, I went and talked to the park and they let me do it. Number one,
yeah.
to me, how much time did you spend creating the relationship? Because especially if you're going to carry paper, the relationship with the management and the owners are really important because they're first lien position, and if they want to squeeze you out, they can find a way
Yeah.
to do it. Number two,
Correct.
there's another issue like there's a 55 and older park here, and they probably have their own other they probably are investing themselves, but they said
Hmm.
I couldn't go in and rehab and buy a property to flip it because I wasn't 55 yet. And
Hmm.
apparently, my guess is they don't, they probably have the side business of getting them for $1,000 and turning them around themselves. So I didn't really add value. I took away value for them as
Yeah,
the
yeah.
park. But in this case, that park welcomed you in, or
This park welcomed it because, like, for them, they were like, hey, like they saw their option wasn't they weren't going to rehab it. It was too old.
mm,
So they said, listen, we're gonna get that thing out of here. We just
they're
want
going
it.
to pull it
We
right
want it
off.
gone. Yeah. So that was really and that's expensive. So
Yeah.
I think they figured, hey, like we'll take a flyer on this guy. I met with them a couple times, met with the guys that worked there a couple times, and everybody, I got along with everybody. Everybody liked me. I liked them, and so they said, hey, we'll more or less we'll take a flyer on you and see if this thing works, and just go from there. And but yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, I mean, I've had a number of other parks that say, no, 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 we do that ourselves, or
Right.
you're 55 and over, or so on and so forth, and so they don't want to deal with you. But this park did. There were, like I said, I think they saw the other options were less appealing, so they figured they'd take a shot at it.
Yeah. Well, great. So we have
Yeah.
you sold it for 12.5. You took
Mm-hmm.
2,500 down, sort of like you
Sort of, yeah.
24 and 100, like
24 and
six.
100, yeah. So
Okay.
it was tight. So, and she was, this is sort of like, I talked to, Tim King was helping walk me through this, and he was talking about, hey, he's like, just you got the person there, even if you got to carry a little bit of paper for the down payment, just get it, get the thing gone, because speed is everything here. Yes, I took
So,
the most she could come up with was 24. She's like, hey, I'll get you the extra 100, next month. And I was like, then so I was fine with that.
oh, it says four. Okay. Well, great. So she put 20% down, which is, it's respectable. The more the
Mm-hmm.
better, right? Especially
The
with
more the better,
this
correct?
this asset class. So
Yeah,
from the previous slide, you're in at about $9,800. So call it 10,000, and so you
yeah,
only have it's a pretty slim margin, right?
pretty
But
some margin, correct?
yeah, but we're going to show what your return is, and plus
Yeah.
you learn something, and there's value to that. But anyway, so I'm just recreating your note. So we got a $10,000 note
Mm-hmm.
here at 9%. And how did you decide on 9? That's pretty low for a mobile home, but you're in California
Yeah,
too.
I mean, I want to keep it under. Yeah, I want to keep it under you. So,
Under usury,
so
right?
yeah. So I got to be just under, 9.25. I think right now is usury. So I was like, I'll just keep it at 9. It's a flat, easy number.
Mm-hmm.
And no, no issues with that.
Right, right. Did you happen to negotiate with the park that if you end up with it back, they won't charge you the space rent?
Yeah, I talked to them a little bit, but I didn't push it because they were, it was sort of like a first go round with them.
Mm-hmm.
My goal was to get it sold before space rent was paid. I wanted to just like get in and get out of there, and
Right,
I, like I said, I went over 2 days on the space rent, and then my initial move was to get the tenant to pay for it. The tenant just didn't have the cash.
right.
So this first we're like, okay, we'll split it 50-50. And then I was like, okay, I'll do the space rent for this one. Let's just get it done.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, it's all great. Okay, so then that's how we calculated the 318 a month, and they can fully amortize it
Hmm.
over 3 years here. And then you have note 2, and this probably the space rent and the
Note two
the
is that in California when you purchase through the DMV, there's a tax that comes up, And so there's a charge of almost 10%, a little bit over, that you had to pay, and she just didn't have it. So I knew that,
So this is your
when
way of rolling it into the loan.
correct.
Is she starting to pay this simultaneously
Yeah,
with the first note?
she's gonna. Yeah, so we synced it up with her payments from work. So the first is due on the 318 is due on the first, and then the 10th is when her second payment is due, on the $100 a month. So we get 318 on the first, $100 on the 10th.
Gotcha. So
So Note 2 has a $1,400 DMV charge plus $80 for insurance. So I paid the first 3 months of insurance plus what was the last thing? Oh, plus the $100 down outstanding. So it's like a $1,500 note, and I just put it at 0% just to get it done.
Gotcha. Okay. So, well, that's great, working through the deal then. So what then here? So let's see if how did you figure where? That's where I'm not seeing where the 46% is on the slide anymore.
Okay.
I know that we had talked about it and you texted me
Yeah.
that. But so basically you're looking at, I've got 98 in.
98 in, but then I subtract the 2,400 because I got that cash in hand. So I'm 98
So
in
minus 2,400.
minus
So now
2,400.
the
So now
cash that you have outlaying is 7,400. Are you not counting the
7,400.
1583 in this
I
scenario?
am. I'm counting that. That's included in there.
Oh, that was included. Great. Okay, so you're
Yeah.
in at 7,400. That goes in our PV.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you're
And so
getting, you got an uneven cash flow there, right?
I got uneven cash flow, correct.
So if
So it's 418. So it's 418 for 15 months. I don't know if you have the screen up right now. I'm not in front of my computer, so I can't see it. But
yeah, I forgot how to get to that point. You should be
you
on.
go to shift, the orange shift, and then the CFJ button. So that if you're on the app, that'll pull it up right there, and you can see everything on there.
I'm not even seeing the CFJ button. That's weird.
The CFJ button is right.
Oh, right there.
Number 8.
Okay.
It's right above that.
Okay, gosh, there it is. Yeah, if I don't do it very often, I totally forget how to do it. So so then I just throw the cash flow amount of minus 7,400 once, and then we go down, and then does that turn into a positive? So then I put
then it should go positive by default. 418.
So 418 times 15.
15 months, correct.
And then you're going to have 318.
No, then 1 month of 401 because
that's right.
because there's a $17 disc because it's not $100 even every month. So the last month will be $83.
This doesn't want to let me go down. That's funny.
Oh, if you need another column, go to the top right. There's a plus symbol. If you hit that, that'll give you another.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Another tab on there.
So 15, and then what's that third or that number for what?
401, and that's for 1 month.
For 1 month, and then the 318. So 16.
318,
20,
and then
20
that's
months.
for 20 months.
20 months. Okay, and then just NPV.
And then go to the top right. There's the 3 little dots, and you click on the one of them, and it will say internal rate of return. I think it's IYR or something like that. Interest rate per year or something, or IRR. Do you see that?
40. Okay, so here we have it. 40, and Axel, maybe you can make this bigger when you're editing this. But so that's where, even though it looks like you got a super like little bit of money in there, but that little bit of money is making 45.05%. So you're getting a 45% return on your money. So that's so most, it's a little deal and it's not a lot of money, but theoretically step and repeat and just get better at this. So thank you for that. So then you were saying, hey, how about I sell off a front end partial? So
correct.
what can we help you with that piece? Because you were saying, hey, if I sell off how many of the payments or something?
Oh, so if I sell off, I was thinking of selling off for $4,127 a month for 36 months. So it would
So
be
so four
about 9%
thousand, and
return.
you're paying them nine and how many months? I'm sorry.
36 for the
30. Oh,
whole
it's
the
for the
duration
whole
of the
term,
note.
for the whole thing. So
Yeah.
for them, they would get 127.20.
Hmm.
That would leave you, all those other numbers.
So now you got
That
to
I'd have
redo
to
the
put them
whole thing. You got to
right.
do it. Yeah.
But just keeping it, more simple. So basically, is that a good deal for someone? Let's see what they can do. What else are they going to do with $4,000? But
Oh,
isn't
I
this
I
right?
mean, like,
Nothing, right? So
yeah,
they
nothing.
can't
I
do
mean, you
anything.
can't. Correct. You can't be a hard money lender with that. It's just not enough money to throw out there.
Yeah, but
I mean,
look, for
for
doing nothing, for almost no risk, because you're gonna take care of it. They can make $580 just doing nothing, and they wouldn't have had that opportunity. So, and it's for
correct.
someone who wants to dip their
Yeah.
toe in. That's awesome. So basically,
Yeah.
then figuring. So we talked about should I borrow money secured by the note, or should I just sell them a partial? And both of those are great. Would be perfect.
Hmm. Yeah.
It just depends on, what's simplest and easiest and, who's the other party at the table. But I told you I would show you the two sets of documents, and we'll
Yeah. Yeah.
catch up with that in the next couple days before I leave town. But,
Yeah. That'd be great.
but
And then I think and then also for me, like in that deal, I think it's important, that the other part, like, I mean, for me, my yield when I do that, I mean, increases exponentially.
right.
So I
So
mean, it's a really,
now
it's a good deal for everybody.
now there's only $3,400 of your money locked in. So I'm going to put that
Hmm.
in PV. And over the same 36 months, I'm just gonna, even if I ballpark it, because I don't want to take the time to do the
Yeah,
thing.
the uneven cash flow.
Yeah, so 318 minus 127.20. So let's just say, even if you only got, and we know you're getting more, let's see what happens. Well, it goes up to 53, and we know it's way higher than that. What was
Yeah,
your
it's way higher.
calculation? What did yours turn out
It
to
was
if I
it
would
was
have
in
done the
it
whole
was in
thing?
let me just it was in the 80s. I can
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So just imagine if you get even better at this and you sell it for double of what you have in it. That's not
yeah.
actually very outrageous. That's pretty common, I think, for most people,
Yeah.
doing these Lonnie deals. So that is totally awesome. I mean, and then you have very little of your own money. You're in the note business because you created it.
Hmm.
You're
Yeah.
helping other people get in the note business because they're partnering with you. So it
Hmm.
seems, really awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, for sure.
Does
Oh,
anyone
no problem.
else,
This is fun.
does anyone before Buddy has to drop off the phone here? He's got meetings and things. Can we unmute people?
Oh, so I just did the calculation on the calculator on
Uh-huh.
that wonderful app by Kenny and
Right,
Kyle over at Innovative Development.
right.
And I got a 98% return.
98%. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. CFJ. Yep. So now we're only, yeah, I just want to do it one more time because, like I said, what's 418 minus 127?
14. I got around two. It's around 290.
290.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is
274 times one.
and
Oh, wait a minute. I messed up with one. I apologize. I messed up with one. The 318 minus, so it's like 190. I was a little bit off actually on the calculations here.
okay, so we got an 84.5% yield right there.
Yeah, that's
Just
right.
roughly, right? So you doubled your yield
Correct.
basically just selling off a front end partial.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
So
just
yeah.
taking this step and repeat and then doing it on even, bigger properties too, if you can. All right. Well, thanks again, and
All right. Cool.
we'll talk this week, and I'll share, how I put those deals together. Live. We'll have a go to meeting or something. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
All right.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you,
All right.
buddy. All right.
All right. I'll
All
talk to you soon. Bye
right.
bye.
Bye bye. Anything else?
I might have a question. I don't have a deal to work on, but
Yeah.
I have a question. I'm working on this little small commercial note. Is there
Okay.
anything particular that I should request when doing commercial notes? It's like a balance of like 43,000. It's paying like I think like 21.27 per month.
Okay. So, what was the original sales price of what type of property is it?
It's the LLC. This guy is selling an
No,
LLC,
but what?
Ohio.
So it's what's the security?
She's put it up her home, which is worth like $1,000 in Ohio as well.
Wait. So I don't get it. If it's a commercial note, usually that means to me like the note is secured by a warehouse, by a big apartment building, by a retail store.
What me and the broker figured that it's not a lot. It's like a double grooming business. So I mean, she doesn't own the space. She pays like 600 a month for her space. So we're thinking that they don't really have a lot of equipment to secure the note.
Oh, so
So that's why.
really, this is a business note.
Uh huh.
Oops. Gosh.
Okay. Wrong
Yeah.
terminology. Looks very wrong terminology.
Right, because there's no real estate, connected to it before you do something else with it. So it's a dog. So let's just put it in as a business note. And are you local to that area of where the
No,
business is?
no. I'm
Okay,
in New Orleans.
gotcha.
In Ohio.
Okay, and then, and so what did she pay for the business?
Um, you know what? I don't know about a down. She didn't put a down payment, but he's selling her the business. That's what the note is.
I know. So we need to
LC,
know how much he's selling the business to her for.
50,000.
Oh, 50,000. Okay, and we don't know what her down payment would be.
No, she didn't have one to my knowledge.
Okay, if that's true, this is not something you want to buy, except for on the face of it, right? I mean, this would be like it's gambling money. This is Vegas money. You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? So what were the going to be the terms just to finish out this piece of it?
Remaining is 43,881.
Okay, so it's already closed. What was the interest rate?
And this is so crazy. It's like 2%. We don't know who wrote this note. But I mean, it's even I mean, it's just so crazy that they even wrote it this way. But I mean, if
Why didn't they just
the
give her the business, basically? Okay, yeah.
it's in
So, yeah, they did just give her the business. So then, how many months?
21. I guess it was initially 24, but three of the payments has been down.
Oh, so it
So
was a
it's
24 2-year term,
yeah,
and so she's paying 2,127 a month.
yep, you got it.
Okay, so then, and she's made 3 payments, so we're down to 21 left
Uh-huh.
of these payments. And how much, just theoretically speaking, how much um, would you buy the remaining payments for? What kind of
Um,
yield were you looking at here?
like it's like crazy, like 3,500. I mean, sorry, 35,000.
Percent or 35,000 or percent?
Yeah, 35,000. And I believe when I first did it in the beginning, it was like a 28% yield or something.
Well, okay, let's look at this. I need to get back to in 21 months, the balance of the note. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 months in. The balance of the note is, oops, this is where I have to, sometimes if you don't go back and recreate it, it happens like this. 2%, 24. Okay, now in 3 months, the balance of the note is 43. 858. Okay, so you're
Yeah,
thinking of just
yeah.
this, you're going to
So this,
discount it, if you 35,000, basically you're looking to make $8,800 over the next just under 2 years.
yes.
And it's worth it to you to tie up the money to make that, right?
Um, I'm trying to find, I'm hustling, trying to find notes.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah. Well, no, I'm
and
I'm just well, I'm just saying because sometimes when things amortize really quickly, so I want to put in your yield here. 4,000. Your yield is, yeah, 28%, and that's really good. That's high. And all things considered, that will tie up
Hey, Don, hey,
35,000.
Don,
Yeah, go ahead.
real quickly on the 35,000, how come that isn't a negative number if it's out if she's out of that cash? How come it's not a negative 35,000?
It's just my personal preference of how I work it. So I could do this, um, put this as a negative because it went out of my pocket, and then the payment is positive. I would have to just reverse it,
Okay, one of the
and
two,
it
one
and
of the
it
two has to
still
be
works, right? It still works. And that's a good way to do it. Like what's going out of my pocket, what's coming in. But for me, just because I keep it in my head anyway, these are always positive, and these two are always negative.
And one quick bit of wisdom for this lady, Don, is I would run from this business venture as quick as I could possibly run. This is not something she wants to get into at her very first note.
Yeah, I don't.
oh,
It's not our first
why
note, but yeah.
Or
next
So
whatever note
far.
it is. There's no
would be my first note.
Oh, it is your first one. I thought you had that other one you closed on that didn't come up.
That I closed on it. Remember the other one had the trailer, the mobile home, but
Yeah,
they didn't
yeah.
have insurance.
Oh, the insurance deal
So
killed it.
yeah, I walked away from that one.
Well, this one
Gotcha.
here, because it's in Ohio and it's dog grooming, it's not there's no collateral. She has no business being in this at all. Period.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I would say. And uh,
So it doesn't matter that she secured it with her $75,000 home.
okay, that's the piece that could theoretically, but then here's what you're doing is now you're sort of treading on thin ice. Ken, what do you think? Because you have a lien against her primary residence. Is
I
it
mean,
on?
if you cross collateralize the house and put that in there, just do the get the house as do a cross collateralization where if you do the business and the house, then you have a house. But if you do the house, she probably has a loan on the house. I'm assuming, right? Because
Oh, no, no, she owned it free and clear.
okay. Then go back and see if she will give you a first on the house and the business. Then you can possibly go ahead and look at the loan.
Yeah, so to
Okay.
me, it's the business note is nothing. It's her house that's everything. So,
Yeah.
but then if you do a loan on an owner-occ house without a license you can get, it's just the gray area there. Do you know what I mean? Like most lenders,
Right.
they've got what you have to do is, the whole Dodd-Frank thing where you have to prove ability to pay and all the things. Because if you get in front of a judge and they look at this poor lady and you're the rich investor and you're kicking her out of her home because she didn't pay, then it just gets a little, what do you think, Ken? I mean, it's just kind
No,
of,
no, you're right. There's plenty of other loans out there to do where, number one, first of all, 35,000, even if it's at a decent percent, that's way too high anyway. And she'd be better off doing something like that last loan that Buddy did, which is, I don't know where she lives, where this lady lives that called in, but go do a
In New
mobile,
Orleans.
do a mobile home loan, keep it under $10,000 with everything. Maybe you can buy it for five or whatever, and then make that a learning lesson, and you're going to school and maybe making a decent percent on top of that, and you're learning so much more.
yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you have to go through, though. This is excellent that you're working over it and just out there and trying. A lot of people just have paralysis of analysis and aren't even out there searching. So you're getting in the game, you're talking to people, and if this other property she had was non-owner occupied, it would be different to me.
Right.
Right? I mean, but even then, yeah, it could still make sense, but I still might want to do even better because you can see, if we look at the amortization, you're going to have that much potentially 35,000 to make less than $10,000. So in a way, it's kind of, you're looking at net present value. Like, is it even worth doing? Like sometimes I can have a super high return. Like what if, I don't know, sometimes, okay, it's going to pay off in 15 months. Well, the yield might look like I'm making, 38%, but actually I'm tying up the money and it's coming back in teeny pieces and I might only make, $3,000. So
And also,
even,
too, Don, on that $2,127, how did she verify that that lady even made those three payments?
How
yeah,
did I verify
yeah. Is
what?
there a payment history? Did they give you a payment history
I
verified?
pay, pays direct deposit. Yes.
Mm. Okay, well, like I say, I just think that
Okay.
this is a little bit shady here, and you know nothing about the dog business, so if you had to own it, you're surely not going to go to Ohio and start cleaning dogs and stuff. So, you just need to concentrate on collateral notes where there is a building, whether it be a house, a duplex, an apartment complex, get the security where it's tangible rather than a business. This is just not a good
So
note.
why isn't her home considered, a collateral?
It would be, but what Don said though is that once you do a loan because of the Dodd-Frank, it would be considered an owner-occupied loan, and you got to make sure to get a mortgage loan originator to do the loan for you, which somebody probably wouldn't want to do because it's now based on a business and possibly a home. It's just a little bit sort of some red flags there. Not to say that you couldn't do it if she put her home up and you got a mortgage originator. If you did all
Yeah.
that, then you probably do.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, if I would just see she's due 21 payments of 2127, and so that's 45, basically $45,000. I would, if she could qualify with ability to pay with an underwriter who says, yeah, she totally can prove that her debt to income ratio supports that she can afford 2100 a month.
Yeah,
Then
they actually sent in. I don't know if this makes a difference because it's only a sheet of paper, but they actually sent in like 3 years of what the business makes, and it makes anywhere, 12 months, 3 years. It makes anywhere from like $6,000 to $8,000. Some months like 10 or 12.
yeah, well, that's good. And then the other question is, how has she been in the dog business before? Is this her
Yeah.
first time? Because it's really easy for someone to take a lot of goodwill and run it into the ground if they don't know what they're doing. So basically, if all the things, if a loan originator could pass it off, not just what the business makes, but what she's reporting on taxes and things
Mhm.
like that, then I would put a $45,000 lien against her home at 0%, because then you look really like a good guy, like you're helping her out. Like if you were gonna, it's a lot of steps, but just theoretically speaking, if you decided it was worth all that, that's what I would probably do. Is saying, hey, I'm going to get paid this 45,000 one way or another. I'm not looking like I'm below usury. But there again, I'd want to, it's against her house. So you want to know she can actually afford it. Cause like I said, the last thing you want to do is be in front of a judge. And I think this is a mortgage state,
Yes,
judicial
yes.
foreclosure. So that can be a wild one because you don't know what the judge can decide. So anyway, just my opinions. And Ken, great thoughts, and not wanting to be discouraging at all. But
Oh, no, not at all. I
yeah,
just want to learn.
yeah. So
Want to learn.
this is,
Paperwork. A
yeah,
mortgage against a home. Would that be the same thing as putting a lien against a home?
yeah. You'd have
Yeah.
a mortgage,
Oh,
a lien.
yeah. The lawyer drew up some paperwork and a promissory note where there is a lien against a home for the amount.
For the 50,000.
Yes.
It's already there. So this
I
is,
pull up the. I mean, it's been processed. Three of the payments are down.
well,
There's
if
only
there's already
21.
a lien, then it's not just a business, it's a business and real estate note. Okay. So business with real estate's totally different. Usually it means they own the building in which they're doing the business, but in this case, she put up her house, and if the lawyer already did it, I guess there's some potential padding there because his malpractice or E&O insurance would be hit first, probably.
And we don't know for sure, Don. I mean, who knows exactly? We don't have all the information, but that's what I'm saying. I just think this is a little bit too complicated for one of her first loans because she might be seeing that 27 or 30, whatever, that 27% yield.
Uh-huh.
That she should be shooting more for like a 10 or 11% just to learn and do the note, get your payments, get adjusted to what's supposed to happen, go through a regular closing with title, escrow, and everything else, and do a smaller note where you're making less interest, but you're learning. You're still, if you make 10%, you're making 10 times more than you would in a savings account. So just
Yeah.
learn from the first note. This is not a good first note to learn from.
Yeah, it's kind of like buying a non-performing junior lien or something as your
Yeah.
first foray into the business. But, it's really great concepts that you bring up. I'm really glad that you spoke up. Um, but like if you were going to do it and you thought it was worth your time and you just wanted to go down the rabbit hole, I would still pay less. I would probably still pay like 30 because, that looks like, oh, so much, but I bet they're having a hard time selling that. And then at least for your trouble, you're going to make more. You're going to tie up 30 to make 15. It's just better numbers because of the short amortization. Longer amortizations, you make a lot more interest for to reimburse you for the risk and for having your money hanging out there. That's what people don't realize is like, oh,
Yeah.
you need. I thought you said you would buy it at a 14% yield, and a lot of times, I can take a lot of things down for that, but not when it amortizes over. I think when I 30, like in 3 years, I was going to get all my money back, but I'd have to put out 60,000 and and I would only make like 8,000 in 3 years because of the aggressive amortization that was left. So I'm like, no, I really can't do better. At some point you have, what money do I need in my pocket to be worth pushing the paperwork? So okay, it might be a good percent, but at the end of the day, how much money did that put in my pocket? And so, back to what Ken was saying, and you can probably get exceed these yields by doing like for example, one of those Lonnie deals that we showed earlier. But or just doing a super simple note where you're just making a boring old 10%, but that's that's really good. And
Oh,
if you huh?
I say a boring old 10%.
Boring old 10%. But if you brought in a money partner that was happy with 7%, basically you'll have infinity return because you're just making the spread on someone else's money. So your own money should make you, really high digit returns if you're willing to cultivate money partners but all of this. But you're doing great. You're on the lam for it, and you're just showing up and doing stuff. So I got to hand it to you.
Okay, hopefully I can the close.
Okay, that was awesome. And thanks again for all the participation. This is totally awesome. Appreciate it a lot. And I'm going to be out of the country, but I'll catch you guys next month, and email me in the meantime. If I can help you with something, I'll certainly do my best. So, all right. Thanks again, guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right. Bye bye.